Hello all you wonderful Rise of Kingdoms players, this is Dragothien here, and welcome back to another rock video. We're going to be continuing our commander pairing ranker series. Sun Tzu is on the docket. Let's go ahead and jump in. We're going to be doing some bottom tier, middle tier, and top tier action. I'm going to show you the commanders that you should be pairing with Sun Tzu and why as I go through them. Now I've already set them up. I'm going to go ahead and go from the bottom to the top, just because the top tier is a lot more flooded because it is Sun Tzu. You know, it's one of my favorite commanders in this game to play with. He's great early game. He's still very, very usable in the end game. Let's go into the bottom tier. It's going to probably be not that surprising. Maybe one or two that might surprise you a little bit, but let's go through it and the reason why I picked these commanders to be in the bottom tier. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean you can't use them, but still not very good to use. There's tons more better options. You can do it, it just won't be very good. So first off, anything with a mobility tree, because there is no infantry mobility commander, anything with a mobility tree is going to be either, well, I guess it's got to be Cav, right? There isn't any archer mobility commanders, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think so off the top of my head. Maybe I'm wrong. Correct me in the comments below if I'm wrong. But Cav commanders are the only ones that really have mobility trees. So with that being the case, that means they probably need to be primary because a lot of their skills are not universal. They are Cav specific, whether it be attack, defense, etc. However, Sun Tzu's versatility is really what makes him such a good commander. So you know, putting Sun Tzu second to a lot of commanders is fine, but with mobility commanders having to be primary, I never recommend having a mobility commander primary when it comes to any pairing, unless all you're trying to do is run fast or go farm kill, which again, not that big of a deal to me and don't need to have specialized pairings necessarily for that. So anything with mobility, that means Double C, Takeda, Belisarius, all of those are going to basically be out the window for me. Takeda is made to be Cav specific, and he doesn't really have the ability to pair with many good nuking commanders. I'm going to put him on the bottom as well. Cleopatra is a farming commander, as is Sundiak. So again, both of those are going to kind of be, again, in the bottom tier for me because of that reason. Now, Edward, you could kind of pair him with Sun Tzu. I just think there's just not really that good of a synergy between the two. Sun Tzu would give some rage engine to Edward, but again, there's better rage engines out there. And Sun Tzu, again, you could probably make the argument for it, but I'm going to put him in the bottom tier. And Tamiris, again, Tamiris is made to go with another archer commander. There's a lot of archer-specific skills there, and she doesn't have the skill damage, the skill talent tree, so she would need to be second there, and it's not the worst, but again, that's just more of a testament to how good Edward and Tamiris are together, for instance, versus if that would be a good pairing for Sun Tzu. So I got them on the bottom tier too. Now again, Lohar over here, I've got Lohar. He's looking pretty good. I think Lohar and Sun Tzu do go together, but just for PvE. Lohar is not a PvP commander in any way, shape, or form. So to me, there's just no synergy there. I think that the synergy is only for the PvE content. Okay. So let's go ahead and continue up a little bit to the middle tier. There's a few more coming our way. Let's go ahead and scroll this on up. I'm cutting Artemisia's head off a little bit, but I don't want to show any of the top tier commanders. And as you can see, there's not many commanders in the middle and the bottom tiers here, guys. It's that Sun Tzu is that good. He's that versatile, and he works really, really well with pretty much everything. So this is kind of a shotgun approach a little bit on the top tier, and I'll tell you why. So let's go through the epics really quick first. Herman, Boudica, Pelagius, all good pairings with Sun Tzu, but it's just because they've got rage capabilities, they've got silence capabilities that work really well with Sun Tzu's master skill set that we've gone over on the Mastery Series guide earlier last week. And then, again, just they work well, especially early game, because there's not much else out there. But as you continue to grow into the game, these pairings become less and less valuable. You want to start pairing them up with some of the top tier stuff that we're going to be seeing here in just a moment. YSS does have some versatility there with Sun Tzu. I think that ultimately that's not a bad pairing at all. I think that you could definitely get away with using YSS in combination there. Maybe have YSS as a secondary to Sun Tzu, full infantry. That's not bad. But again, I think that if YSS was a little bit better, I think YSS would be in the top tier with Sun Tzu as well. And then Charlemagne, there's some synergy there. The skill damage bonuses are there. There's good nuking capability. The combinations are really good, I think. And middle tier, I think, is where that is a good pairing for. Same thing with Artemisia. Artemisia has a little bit of a maybe could work really well with Sun Tzu if you don't have YSG, for instance, which huge no-no if you've got Artemisia maxed and not YSG. And then, again, if you don't have Wu maxed or something like that, Sun Tzu could be a little bit of a fill-in, I think. He's got good garrison capabilities. He's got good defensive as well as offensive capabilities. I don't see a problem with that at all. I think that ultimately you can get away with pairing those two guys up and have a really good time when it comes to garrisoning, because I mean that's really the only way that you would want to use them. You can use them in the open field a little bit too, and Canyon actually might be a good space for Artemisia Sun Tzu. Same thing with El Cid. I think there's some quality synergy there, like with Herman, for instance. There's only one skill that's specific to archers on both of those commanders, so all the other stuff can kind of work, but again, it's not really, they're not linked in together to where every single thing kind of just pops off of each other. And then I do have Ashita on the right side here. Ashita does have a little bit of value because he does have extra rage regen, right? He does have a heal as well, which could make Sun Tzu a little tankier, and he does have a little bit of an attack bonus as well. There's some synergy there. If you're going to use Ashita offensively, this might be a good pairing for you to use him with. But again, Ashita just in general is not a good offensive commander. He is a gatherer. He carries his mop around and sweeps up and mops up all the resources and takes them back to your city. Not so much mopping up that many offensive armies, but it can be done. And if you're going to use a gathering commander, that's why I put him in the middle tier and over to the right, because it's a little bit of an exception. And that's kind of where I would put them. Now, let's jump to the top tier. This thing is chock full. So full, in fact, that I've got these guys on top of each other, on top of each other, on top of each other. There you go. So let me go ahead and continue pulling it up just a little bit there. So as you can see, this is probably 75% of the commanders in this game. So there's 43 roughly commanders in this game, I think. 43 or 44 or 48. It's in the 40s. And we've got about 12, so maybe, 70% of the commanders that are in this game work really well with Sun Tzu, whether it's primary or secondary. I'll quickly go through them and give you a quick summary of why. Genghis, obviously, they both do really exceptional damage. The rage generation will help Genghis even further fire off his skills more and more quickly. Saladin does have some value there too. Again, adding some extra tankiness to a Saladin army with his second skill, which gives you a little bit extra damage reduction. And then again, rage generation and skill damage bonuses are always helpful to nuking legendary commanders, which is the third one there, YSG. This is a huge synergy. The amount of damage this army pumps out is incredible. And except for the fact that it's a little squishy, you can go YSG primary, Sun Tzu secondary, or you can go Sun Tzu primary, YSG secondary. Just make sure you use the right troops. Especially early game, Minamoto Sun Tzu is very, very good because those are two commanders that you can max out relatively quickly if you want to put a little money into the game. As the game goes on, that pairing goes down a little bit and probably should go more towards the middle tier. However, Minamoto does have a very good nuke, even end game, and he does have just good capabilities and synergy with Sun Tzu. Now, Sun Tzu Joan would work really well open field. You're pumping out damage. You're generating more rage by hitting more targets with your AoE with Sun Tzu, which means more buffs. More buffs for everybody, including yourself, is always a good thing. That's always great in the open field. That's why I put her top tier. That's a great pairing. Kusunoki, a little bit of an epic shotgun build. Same thing with Baybars. That's the same kind of idea. You've got double AoEs pumping out, and again, just the amount of skill damage that you're pumping out with Kusunoki with his additional skill damage, and then again with Baybars, same thing, and you can switch them up just like we did with YSG. Alex, Leonidas, Constantine, Charles, and Richard, all 5 of the major legendary commanders for infantry, all work with Sun Tzu. You can go either way, primary or secondary. If you want more damage, I would go, with the exception of Charles, I would go, and maybe Alex, I would go Sun Tzu primary. If you want some more tankiness with extra damage that Sun Tzu provides, then I would go Sun Tzu secondary in those situations. All of those commanders are brilliant together. You want to make sure that you use, again, if you're rallying, Alex is a good rallying commander. Garrisoning, of course, Charles and Constantine, and to some extent Richard if you're using him in Arc or something like that. Don't use him in the city. We've covered that to a crazy amount on this channel. Osmond's a great secondary to Sun Tzu. Sun Tzu Osmond gives you extra troop capacity. There's tons of nuke damage there. It's just a really good synergy, and Osmond, again, is one of those universal commanders that works really well with a lot of commanders too, so they're paired up in heaven. Freddy, same thing. I would use him secondary. Same thing with Mehmed. I would use him as secondary. All those leadership commanders, you want to put them behind a skill damage commander or a defense commander or an attack commander, and all of those things will work very, very well together for the same reasons. Extra troop capacity, tons of nuke damage. Let's see, Freddy has a heal, things like that. So you want to have all those good things together. Ramses is actually, I was looking at some of the skills. Ramses is actually kind of a sneaky pick to being in the top tier. You've got Ramses primary, I think, would work really well with Sun Tzu secondary. Sun Tzu does so many good things that boost some of the things that you give up with Ramses being primary, like the extra skill damage, capability. That's where the skill damage boost comes in. You've got rage generation because you don't have the skill talent tree with Ramses. You've got the attack one, so Sun Tzu can kind of boost the rage regeneration with his primary skill. Again, you're pumping out a ton of damage. It gives some extra damage reduction capabilities as well. I think Ramses Sun Tzu is kind of a sneaky little open field and maybe even a little bit of a rallying combo to take a peek at. To me, it's gonna be pretty good. Kira, again, I think she's really good with any skill damage commander. She does another AoE as well, so you want to make sure that you are pairing her up if you're primary with archers or if Sun Tzu's primary with infantry, but they both really work together as well. There's a couple peacekeeping items in there, but not a huge deal. Ethelfled is a great pairing for Sun Tzu, especially canyon-wise. Open field, Ethelfled loses a little bit of luster as a primary, but you could do Sun Tzu Ethelfled and be in very good shape in the open field. And again, they complement each other well. They both have AoEs. There's some damage and speed reductions from Ethelfled, and obviously the debuff is huge. And again, the rage engine from Sun Tzu, firing all these things off more often, that debuff is good. That's very good to do. Julius Caesar, this is kind of, I put him in the top tier just because, again, YSG Caesar is so good, right? So it's the same premise. Sun Tzu Caesar works really well together. Caesar adds a ton of tankiness to any skill damage commander. So if you've got Sun Tzu and Caesar, then you can count on them tanking a little bit more with all the extra capabilities that Caesar brings to the match. And then also the skill damage that Caesar's first skill provides will hit because of the rage engine that Sun Tzu has. He will fire his skill off quick enough to where if you have Caesar second, you'll get that 30% skill damage bonus on top of what Sun Tzu already has when he fires off his next skill after that first volley. Sun Tzu Eulji, very good as well. Again, that's a very good early game pairing. Sun Tzu primary, I think, is the better play here, just because I like the skill tree over the attack tree. And again, the skill tree will benefit Eulji's primary skill, which is ultimately a nuke and debuff, which is always good. Sun Tzu Barca was always kind of what I made my name on very early in the game, and it still works today. Same thing with Scipio. Sun Tzu Barca, Sun Tzu Scipio, and Sun Tzu Julius are kind of the three little... I'm going to provide a whole lot of tankiness. I'm going to give you extra troop capacity. Caesar gives a little more damage because of the first skill. Barca has some debuff, which is very, very nice, and Scipio is more for anti-swarm. So with Scipio, if you get swarmed, the counterattack damage you're pumping out is insane. That's definitely a great pairing. And then finally, we've got Guan. As far as offensive capabilities on the open field, Guan Sun Tzu is amazing. You should try it out. It's quite the little pairing in Sunset Canyon as well. Top tier pairings that are in heavy kingdoms, heavy spending kingdoms, are using Guan Sun Tzu as a pairing, for instance. So very good pair. Open field, rally, and Sunset Canyon, very good. Also on the right side, we've got Theo and Wu. These are both great garrison commanders in their own right. Wu Sun Tzu works really well for anti-skill. Theo Sun Tzu works really well, again, for anti-skill and anti-swarm as well. Those are all good pairings. And if you're going to go for a garrison with legendary commanders that's not named Charles, then I would likely go, or I would recommend you go Theo or Wu. Those are both really good top-tier pairings as well. Artemisia is kind of in that boat too, and I would kind of put her in the middle between middle and top tier from a garrison perspective. So I think there's some synergy there as well that you guys might like. This was hard to do. This was a hard one to do because every commander I saw was like, well, there's a little bit of synergy there. We could probably do something about that. And put them in the middle tier or put them in the top tier. But I was like, no, I'll try my best. And this was my best. So I'm sorry if there's loaded on the top, but I went through all of them to tell you what my thought process was. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video about Sun Tzu's pairings, which ones you should be using on the battlefield. And I guess I'll see you guys next time. Cheers. Have a good one. And take care.